So joining us today is our law enforcement expert, Dr. Pill, here to help keep the viewers out of prison and give them a strategy if they come under police detection.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Pill. It's great to be on your show, Jeff. And here's Sergeant Borsinos. Hello, you corrupt cop, Sergeant Borsinos.
Now, as we know, the corruption is rampant all throughout the Victorian police force. We have innocent people going to jail, people being stitched up, framed for crimes that they didn't do. Dr. Pill is going to provide you with a solution. So, Doctor, a lot of people fall prey to corrupt police. What would be one of the best strategies?
The solution to provide people being locked up innocently is a true thing, and a lot of them are being locked up because their lawyers aren't doing the right job. The misconduct, the professional standards did not correct the incorrect, the statements that were false. And they're not going to incriminate themselves when they already have incriminated themselves. And you're right. And the only way to make sure that you don't go to jail when you're innocent is always say, what did I do wrong from the start? They have to give you that answer.
Would it be wise for someone to let the police enter their house without asking for a search warrant?
Again, if you're going to let any officer that proves and identifies that he's an officer, let him do his job. Just let him do his job. You got nothing to worry about. Come right in, have a coffee, do whatever you want. And then after he's completed the investigation, then. But you have the right to ask for a search warrant. And if they don't have a search warrant, then it's your choice to choose to say, okay, you don't have a search warrant or you do. Is that what you're saying in that level? Whether
Absolutely.
they have one or don't? And if they don't reveal a search warrant, well then, it's up to your choice. But the question is, if you have nothing to hide, it's okay. Because the problem we have, these police officers, they're doing their job. Let them do their job. If they're going to do something that's going to incriminate you, then it's their job to make sure they clear your name in anything they do. Am I sort of understanding the picture here? That's important. Now, when you mentioned about a search warrant, the question is, I know what the law is, but if the officer hasn't got a search warrant, then it's your choice to decide to say whether, no, you need to go back and get me a search warrant before you enter the premises. Does it make sense? Or you can then deny him to come inside without a search warrant, which I think it is legal, your right to do.
Very good advice, Doctor. Now, if someone's being questioned by the police, it's always advised to ask the question, am I being detained or am I free to leave?
That is a good question. It happened with Mr. Galucha. Same thing what you say is, hold it right there. Am I arrested? Are you putting me under arrest? Are you reading my rights? Now, the rights have to be read. And when they say, oh, you're being under arrest for questioning, I said, no, okay, so you're placing me under arrest. And if you don't charge me, you got to make sure that if you don't charge me, you got to make sure that you say, well, I want my name vindicated in writing. And if you don't, then I have every right to pursue a course of action that you committed a criminal offense yourself. The officer's committed a crime. Because they can't arrest you unless the evidence is there. It's not just saying, hey, hold it right there, we just want to arrest you so we can take you in and have fun with you. No. Because once you're arrested, remember, even though you don't get charged, it's just as a conviction. It's just as worse as a conviction, being convicted or being charged. Because when you get under arrest, the detrimental effects it has to you and your family, to everybody, to your job, to your character, it's destroyed. Because being arrested is a serious thing. It's not something that's got to be taken lightly.
Absolutely. It really affects someone's employment history. It can jeopardize personal and family situations. It can have a whole range of problems that one can encounter when they fall in a wrong place with the law. So the predatory behaviour that people are experiencing, how can they avoid that?
Holy shit! Holy macaroni! Yeah, the predatory behavior of some officers, suffering from some kind of psychological psychotic psychosis with a major fatalistica satanistica. In Einstein's turn, they're just compulsive liars. So when an officer lies about you, Jeff, what you need to do is make sure that you challenge him. You say, hang on, hold it right there. We're in the same level, officer. And if they're going to continue to lie, you say, I have no choice but to call you a corrupt, bad cop. You see, calling a corrupt cop, it awakens them. It says, hang on a minute, I don't want to be called a corrupt cop. So you'll find that's the best way to stop the predatory behavior. Are you with me?
Certainly. Well put, Doctor. Now, as a lot of the viewers know, the corruption in the police force is rampant. And this is a very serious subject because it's the corrupt police that really drag the whole reputation of the entire force down, the officers with honour and integrity. It makes them look bad, and it tarnishes the whole name.
You know, what you're saying there is the truth. It takes one rotten apple. You see, you got to understand that one officer that commits the offense or does the misconduct upon an innocent person, the whole force has to cover up because they expect to get the same treatment. And that corrupt assistant commissioner Russell Barrett, you're a corrupt cop because you lied on 60 Minutes with the guy they said when, you know, that had his head, you know, paralyzed, dislocated because they pulled it off almost. He says that, every kind of investigation done by professional standards reflects on him. So if they're not doing their job right, it reflects. Well, hey, I wrote to you. He didn't do anything to investigate and identify the truth. So what you're saying there is a lot of corruption. And the reason for that corruption, because not one independent body will apprehend an innocent person. In other words, apprehend means to bring him into innocent. Instead, they basically turn him to become guilty and letting the officers say no inappropriate misconduct. And if you're not happy with that decision, you can go to IBAC. And then IBAC turns around and says, no, they've already made a decision. We can't have the power or the jurisdiction to overcome that.
Very good, Doctor. Now, it's been said that there's a lot of rogue police on the force. They don't play by the book. They follow their own rules.
Yes.
And they look at the members of the public like prey.
Yes.
And the predatory behaviour has to come to a stop. What would be your advice to someone that's analysed this type of behaviour and wants to get justice?
You know, the best understanding when you say what the advice is, depending on in the situation, you need to understand that if you're innocent and you've never done anything wrong, you are more powerful. Did you know you're more powerful than the officer? When the officer does wrong and tells lies, that's it. His authority, the badge is out the window. Because they're sworn under the section policy that they have to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And they're going to try, like you said, these rogue cops will come in and try to play their, muscle tone. The best way you say, excuse me, Mr. Officer, I've done nothing wrong. What are you accusing me of?
Very good.
Very simple. What are you accusing me of? And that's not always, they're always saying, oh, hang on. No, what are you accusing me of? Now, what you're accusing me of, you're going to have to clear my name once you discover that I'm innocent. How beautiful is that? I say to all the cops, and they're like, wait a minute. So if they are being rogued, and if they are going to do what you're saying, rogue, and they're going to do dirty work, they say, look, man, you're not welcome here anymore. Like Sergeant Basili, they try to set me up. You're not welcome. See you later.
Yes, very good advice once again.
Yes, thank you, Jeff.
Now, a lot of people feel targeted. They've come under police attention, and now they can't seem to break away from that. The spotlight's been put on them. People tend to view them in a whole negative way. Now, if someone was feeling like they're being targeted, they can't seem to break free from police harassment,
yes.
Would you advise that they move out of their area? Should they relocate?
No. The best solution to stop a cop from targeting you, like you said, and that's known as predatory behavior. To continue on is simple. You need to film him, take a picture, and say, you're a corrupt cop. Submit it to him. Submit it to everyone. That's the only way a cop backs off. And I'm telling you, it works. Because when you start calling Sergeant Bolsino's a corrupt cop, he's like, whoa. Because all eyes are looking at him, and they know that. So that's the answer. I find it works all the time. When you call a cop corrupt, what you're saying is, hey, mister, you're a dishonest police officer. Now, I don't know if you know the story of Mr. Galucci when he started calling an officer, Stephanie Zapatero, a corrupt cop. What took place was there was a court proceeding, and have a guess what took place? The magistrate says, well, if he's corrupt, and, calling Stephanie Zapatero a corrupt cop, then hit her for defamation. And you know what the QC bars they spent thousands of dollars? You know what they said? Oh, that's not as easy as that, Your Honor. Why? Because he's telling the truth? I rest my case.
That's priceless information.
Very priceless.
Always make sure that you have your mobile camera out.
100%.
Film these officers while they're executing their
100%.
duties.
You have the right to film.
Absolutely. So that way it guarantees that they're going to uphold the law because they know that they'll be held accountable with that footage.
That's right. And then you call them corrupt. Then you say, hey, you, Sergeant Wassel, you need a milk bottle? You're a corrupt cop.
Very good. And that will give people relief, knowing that there's not going to be any underhanded tactics being used.
And may I say, where you say underhand tactics, when you call a cop corrupt, do you know you got nearly the entire half of the police force on your side? Think about it. These officers say, hey, man, this man's corrupt. Or seeing us, hey, yeah, I know him. And the police officers come up and congratulate you. You know, every time Mr. Galucci being congratulated, hey, man, I love what you do. I love you calling this cop corrupt. And some will admit, yeah, he is. And like Raptor 13. You heard about Raptor 13. See what happened to him? She spoke up. People spoke up. Hey, he got the boot. He should get the boot. That was horrible what he did, what he said.
Absolutely, because a lot of these police officers, they don't follow the law like they expect everybody else to. And they skirt the course of justice, and a lot of people are being charged, and it's unwarranted. And this affects so many people's livelihood, doesn't it?
That is very good when you said that.
And there has to be substantial evidence before it goes to trial. So if you get the feeling that there's a lack of evidence, then definitely push forward, full rights, take it to the highest level.
Well, when you mean high, remember what I said. This is important. What Jeff's saying here is that if you feel that what you've done is you've done nothing wrong, you need to question the officer. It's very simple. If an officer says, listen, we believe that you're taking some drugs. Excuse me? What did you say? All right, this is between you. That's like a fight. It's between you and me now. I'm not interested in the lawyer. I'm interested in you. Hey, hang on, man. I'm just doing my job. I know you're doing your job. But if you're incriminating me, and then they get so tough and macho, it's just what? I'm going to call you a corrupt cop. And you know what? 100% the officer sits back and says, okay, I've been busted. I know I'm doing something dodgy here. I don't want my face up in that billboard. And it works. I'm telling you, the only way. Galucci could have been in jail by now. He wasn't, because he went out there and fought for us, for the community. He fought for everyone to say, hey, he's just an individual, that cop. If he's going to come at you with a false allegation, you know what to do now. You need to say, hey, you have a choice. You give him an ultimatum.
Absolutely. Well said. And as they say, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So don't think just because they're a sergeant or an inspector or even a commissioner that they're going to give you a fair trial of your rights, that they're going to give you a fair encounter. This isn't always the case.
100%. What you mean by fair encounter is, do you know the only way they give you a way out of it is how well you challenge them and you put them to the test. Believe it or not. You can see when Mr. Galucci put Sergeant Wassel to the test, hey, you seen on the video where you're not welcome here. Remember Sergeant, the corrupt cop Sergeant Basile? If you look at the video, you're not welcome, man. And he says, see you later, make up your mind. Because they knew, hey, this guy's going to put us to the test. And that's exactly what you're saying. You know, the hierarchies and all that, it's only when you get put to the test. Because they don't know you. But when they know you're going to stand up, a lot of times they walk away.
And that's when we see a lot of cases dropped.
Yes.
That's what happens when you put because they have a burden of proof that they have to
100%.
submit the evidence against you. And if that's not there, you'll find the case being dropped very quickly, won't you, Doctor?
Yeah, because in what I'm saying about going on about, if you don't challenge the officer, and say, I'm going to call you a corrupt cop, he'll continue it on. They'll just keep playing it along. Then, okay, he walks out. But when you say, hey, listen, like Sergeant Bolsinos, the moment I started calling him corrupt, bad cop, you know what happened? They dropped the case. They walked away.
Complete vindication.
Complete vindication.
A release from these tyrannical.
Tyrannical. I love tyrannical. You corrupt cop, Bolsinos.
A lot of them seem to get off on charging and keeping the public in fear. They like to use a power play, and it feeds their ego. We can't have this happen anymore. They have to uphold the law themselves and maintain peace in the community and go back to looking after people. Long are the days since we've seen officers getting cats down from trees. That doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, yeah. You know, when you said about power play and the ego, the only way you understand is that the more friendlier you are with the officer, hello, sir, yes, sir, whatever you want, 3 bags full, sir, there is 100% chance there is going to be no altercation. The moment you say, excuse me, why do I have to? Bingo, man. They've got you. You know, Mr. Galuchuk sets a great example. In all those 10 years, he never once ever disagreed with an officer. You know, he always agreed with an officer. You're under arrest. Okay. I'm taking you to... Okay. They put him in custody. Okay. You're under arrest for sexual penetration. Okay. That's all he said. And the officer's going... waiting for him to respond, and then the officer turned and said, geez, you know, you're very resilient. You don't even respond or react. And when it goes into court, they say, well, he acted like amicable. You know, and that's the secret. Good. That is very important, because a lot of people I see, you see him start off good, but then the officer just pushes him, and all of a sudden, and that's it. They got you for something else. Exactly, because with great claims requires great evidence. Well said. And from the great evidence... You know, you understand, if you've got a great behavior towards the police officer, respect them. That's the difference. Now, calling him corrupt is every right. It's in the Bible and Scripture. You have the right to judge. If they judge you wrong, you judge them accordingly to what they judge you being wrong. Now, a lot of people become a victim of police brutality. They end up with bruises, broken arms and legs, all types of injuries at the hands of these police. What would be your advice to someone that's battered and bruised and they believe that there's a case here? You need to look at... I'm going to be fair here. When you look at some of the videos, you need to know how they responded first. So let's be fair here, okay? And then if they go excessiveness, like we saw with the bit with the person that was on the pensioner, you know, where he basically was beaten up. You saw a clip on that. That's right. You know, there was an engagement of him refusing, and you can understand it, being nice. And same with other people, you know. Sometimes you need, the bottom line is, yes, sir, what, sir? Even if it's recorded. Now, when they start getting aggressive, then you have every right to challenge that and fight it. And, you know, a lot of them do have issues. They suffer from psychological psychotic psychosis, major psychological fanatistica. In Einstein's term, they have this issue that, you know, dominancy. That if you try and, you know, say, hey, what was that? What did you say? You know, they just retaliate. So what I find in what you're saying with the bruise and that, sometimes it can be instigated, but it's still wrong. It doesn't give the officer the right to belt you up. That's right. Sometimes it's a complete abuse of power. That's what we're seeing. Would it be advised for someone to raise their voice or get angry in a police altercation? It's verbal, but in a friendly, amicable way. And it does help you better. Because one thing you need to understand, let's be right here, let's be fair here, right? When it comes to conflict or confrontation, you're not going to win against the police officer. If you have a guy beating up a police officer, or if you have a police officer beating up an innocent person, and then he turns around and starts beating up the police, well, he's going to be just as worse. You know what I mean? That's how you just don't push him in any way. What could be a misdemeanor could turn into quite a serious felony. It can. But the guy with the pension didn't do anything wrong. He just he's asking for help. He's asking for help. But that's where they went wrong. When they pushed him, when they started, they didn't need to pepper spray him. They didn't need to battle him up and all this and, you know, restrain him and all that. You know, they could have just sat there and said, okay. Because the whole public relations,
the reputation of the police force. If you do a general poll on some of the public, the outlook towards police, it's not a very positive one. A lot of them are in fear. They have a negative outlook. We need to clean up the entire system, remove the corrupt police, and have a society that's based on proper ethics and morals, not police doing the corrupt work for the government, isn't it, Doctor?
That I agree. There's a lot of corrupt cops out there. They become corrupt because sometimes by choice. They've been forced to do things like Sergeant Wassel was corrupt by choice. Sorry, not by his choice, but he was instructed to become corrupt. Sergeant Bocinos was instructed to become corrupt. At the end of the day, they have a right not to follow that path.
Absolutely. And where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yes.
Like Mr. Galegas, if, being framed, how many other people have been framed? How many other people have been wrongfully convicted even, put behind bars for something they didn't do?
The only reason why Mr. Galegas never been put behind bars because he never do any wrong, but he never had a lawyer. He fought himself, and every time he said, hey, I'm going to film you and expose you. Because once you do that, the magistrate had already said, well, why don't you hit him for defamation? No, we can't. Because he's telling the truth. And that's important. Remember, that's very important. That's why we do these Dr. Pill episode shows to let you know, hey, calling Assistant Commissioner a corrupt cop because he had a duty of care under the Section 112. It's his duty to make sure that he's getting paid to look after his subordinates, his lower-ranking subordinates. And if they're bad and they're doing corruption, it's his job to say, hey, I got to put you in line. And when he doesn't, he becomes corrupt, just like them.
And people have had many victories with lawsuits against the police force. They've walked away with millions of dollars.
Today it's happening, and I think Mr. Galucha is going to get his millions soon.
See, that's right.
Eventually, it's sad that, it's a long journey, but, the more it gets out in the media, because that's what they really need. They need more media coverage on corruption to put an end to corruption so we can make the police force into a better place.
Absolutely, and a safer place to live. People shouldn't be in fear of the police like they are now.
Well, yeah, because you make it a better place. There's a lot of good officers out there. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of great officers I've met, but they're in fear of these corrupt ones that are still lurking. They got rid of that corrupt commander, Dean Stevenson, corrupt commander, Stuart Basin. These officers didn't care about an innocent man that was, wrongfully accused and all that. He asked for help. They did nothing, and they got karma.
And you can only speculate if they're willing to flagrantly break the law themselves. What other crimes are they committing? Are they stealing evidence from the evidence room?
It goes on and on and
Absolutely. Tampering with evidence as well.
Yep, goes on and on and on.
Planting, incriminating documents, all of it. Illegal wiretaps we're seeing. It just continues, and there's no end to it. Is there? Once they get away with it, they feel more confident that they can continue this form of abuse on the public.
That's what you use the word, they get away with it. But now that Dr. Peel is here, hey, you can be watching one of you and say, you're a corrupt cop. Remember that. Corrupt cop Sergeant Bocinos, you couldn't get away with it.
That's right. There needs to be drastic measures taken to ensure the safety of the public and have a better community for all of us to live.
And I agree.
And these corrupt police need to be extricated from the force.
And handing their resignation for causing fabrication.
Absolutely. Very good information that the viewers can use at home. And this could prevent someone from being treated unfairly, or at least give them a strategy. The way law enforcement is structured, it's very unethical. It's based on revenue raising. They want to bring the dollars in, and it doesn't matter who they charge and who they put before the courts because they have quotas to meet.
Well said, because when you mentioned that, quotas, you got to understand the idea of when you're being charged, it's pending, whether you're going to go to court, whether you're not. And they need to build a case up. And when they build the case with a lot of lies and fabrications, they want to know if you got a lawyer. And as you're aware of Gobo Lawyer X, you're familiar with that. Well, hey, she was milking up the money, but that just goes to show you. When you get a lawyer's going to first thing say it's going to cost you $2,000 to $4,000, but we'll try and fight it. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Because hang on a minute, it's about the money, and you're right. It's wrong. But understand, Dr. Pill here, the TV show's going to help you not get sucked in by the shit that's going on in the police force.
This could potentially keep someone out of prison.
100%. It could keep them out of jail. Dr. Pill is going to educate the right thing to do. Now, when I mean right, always agree with an officer, whatever he says. But then after the investigation, you say, hey, you know what? Now it's my turn. Because then he has the right to, at the end, they say, can you sign this to say how our performance was appropriate conduct? They tell you to write all that stuff. You say, hey, I need to know this first. So you have the right. And that's when you start asking questions. Don't be afraid. Because a lot of people are afraid. And when you get a lawyer says, no, don't worry about answering questions. No.
Very good advice, Doctor. See, it's one big corporation. It's a money-making business. And that's the way they view it as. That's why they're so hell-bent on these traffic cops pushing through infringement notices. Most people aren't going to fight it. They simply pay it and move on. More people need to clog up the courts, plead not guilty, and not put themselves out there and plead guilty at first opportunity if you have a sufficient case and if you're completely innocent.
That's 100%. And just remember, sometimes a lot of lawyers are just on the police side and they're going to try to milk you for everything they got. And a lot of times we say, no, I didn't need a lawyer. I represent myself. Well, I don't need a lawyer. Any officer, like I've been saying from the start, you have a right to communicate with a lawyer. No. You have a right to communicate with the officer. And that's what Mr. Gordon always says. When they say you have a right to communicate with a lawyer, you say, no. I'm communicating with you. Why do I need a lawyer for? You got to be strong. You say, I don't need a lawyer. I need you, Mr. Officer. You're accusing me of an allegation? Well, guess what? You prove me the allegation. Oh, listen, and then they stop talking. Oh, okay. And that's never be afraid. Never be afraid.
Very good information that the viewers can use at home. And this could prevent someone from being treated unfairly, or at least give them a strategy. And your closing statements, Doctor, for the viewers at home, how they can remain free from prosecution.
Remember, love the police, love your family, and always, never, ever show any kind of anger. Always agree with the police officer. It's very important, Jeff, that they agree. And then when the time you feel that you've been wronged, then do it after the investigation. Because too many people interfere in the investigation, and they want you to do that. They're trying to lure you in. Now that you know that knowledge, you'll be able to have more power over the police if they're going to try and incriminate you. Remember that.
You've just heard it from Dr. Pill. Try and stay out of jail, folks.
That's right.